My husband believes I don't love him, even though I care deeply for him. It hurts knowing he feels this way, and I wish I could help him see how much he truly means to me. For reference, let's call my husband Jack and my daughter Lily. Jack and I have been married for about 10 years, dated for 5, and have a 4-year-old. Overall, we've had an absolutely wonderful relationship. Sure, occasionally we hit a rocky spot, but we always recovered stronger than ever. Most of our friends look at us as the ideal couple too. I've never doubted that he loves me, and I've tried my best to reciprocate it. Even when he wasn't home often during our first 5 years of marriage, he came back home after that since he got a promotion. We have great communication, and I already am planning on how to approach this with him, but a second opinion would be nice just in case someone else already dealt with something similar. Yesterday he was doing some very acrobatic exercise in our backyard. He does this every day, even when he's almost delirious from fever, which was hilarious to see. I joked that he'd leave me to become a monk. He just froze for a second and responded, maybe after Lily grows up. Sure, this could just be playful ribbing, but I had a bad feeling in my gut and kept poking at him. He almost fell down, which is very odd since he has excellent balance, made me leave so he could focus on his stuff. That especially made the feeling even worse. The rest of the conversation happened at dinner. The gist of what he said is something like, "The signs are all there." He mentioned that we haven't been as romantic or intimate as of recent. He even said something about less attraction on my end, which isn't true. Then mentioned weeks of silence. I don't remember this happening at all. Frequent absence. I haven't been going out much except with my friends for dinner dates, which isn't often, just 4 times a week for now. Something about initiation. The only one that somewhat made sense was how I was cutting couple time for friend time or game time, which doesn't happen all that often. I can only count 2 or 3 times last week where I did that, and we still had an hour or so out of planned 3 or 4 to spend together, so we shouldn't have an issue. What he added next honestly broke my heart, and I almost started crying right there. "I don't think you love me as much as I do you. But that's fine. We'll raise our kid, grow old, and exist till we die. I already have a few hobbies that make me happy. I can't make you responsible for all my happiness. That would be unfair." And he said that with the most deadpan expression ever, like we were talking about the weather or how our day went. I tried to make him understand that this hurt me, but it didn't seem to land at all. He just kept staring at me blank-faced, and I honestly felt terrified. Afterwards we slept in the same bed after he put Lily to sleep and cuddled like normal, which was so jarring to me. I've put a lot of work into keeping us together, so to hear this from him has hurt me deeply. It's even worse because what he described sounds exactly like his parents. They're 2 old bitter people who stayed together to raise him and still stay together for God knows why. I've never seen them be loving towards one another, and only once towards him. He was always very particular about that stuff, and said he never wants to have something like that. A few years ago he said that he was so glad we weren't like that, and that he was so lucky to have someone who actually loves him and won't spontaneously stop, because folded clothes wrong. Which made me fall in love all over again to know how much I meant to him. And then there's all that's tough, he said, and I honestly can't remember something like not talking to him or silence. But I remember how his mother used to forget things. Like she'd do something wrong, get that wrong thing pointed out, and then forget it ever happened. One time she was saying something about how my kind of people are less likely to succeed in business and should become a housewife, which is weird because she's a lawyer, and he certainly hasn't said anything like that, and is very proud of my passive income stuff. My husband called her out on it stone-faced like yesterday and defended me. I didn't like that he said that I made more than him at the time because I was afraid his mom would say something, but she backed down after that. She forgot about that incident a day later. Couldn't recall that lunch or what we did or anything sound that 1-hour period. He didn't want to subject me to that, but I insisted since family is pretty important to me, so we went back a few times. This same thing has happened at least 2 times, the target switching to him. I'm proud of him for standing up to her, and she can't remember any of it. Eventually I got a begrudging approval from her. His dad didn't care too much and was, whatever makes you happy from the start, which was nice. I'm crying my eyes out at a friend's house. I wanted to take Lily with me this morning, but she was in the middle of some class with Jack, helping her do some activity the teacher gave them, so I just went on my own. I feel so heartbroken right now, and I don't know what could have happened to make him think this way. I've been having a great few years since he's been home the last 5 or so years and lightened the load on taking care of Lily. What happened? Does anybody have experience dealing with something like this? This is a complete breach of my trust, and I'm hurting so much from what he said. Any advice is helpful. I plan on returning at lunch and dinner for Lily's sake, but I'll try to talk to him after I've settled for a day. Husband of 10 years doesn't think I love him anymore, and we have a 4-year-old. Has anyone dealt with this before? And how did you deal with it? Edit 4 HR's in, I've cancelled my plans for this week. And told my friends nothing about why. One of my close friends who is very friendly toward any husband, asks for him every time I go to their houses, and spoils and plays with my daughter, then suggested it was my husband and said he was controlling and other things. I told to stop but she didn't, and nobody in the group did anything to stop her. Some even joined in. I've cut them all off, can't believe this. Edit 5. HRS. In. Working on what to say tonight. Also working on replacing friend time with date nights. Somebody said I have to make him fall in love with me again. That's a goal. Edit 7 HRS. In went back home, mostly finished the list of things to say. Found him repeatedly smashing his shoulders into a tree, and actually denting it. Lily was watching and eating ice cream. She seemed tired but didn't want to go inside yet. I'm making dinner tonight. Comment 1. Way. It sounds like there's a lot of unspoken tension and hurt here. I think you're doing the right thing by focusing on communication and trying to understand his perspective, but don't forget to take care of yourself too. Comment 2. It's so tough when someone you love feels like they're not being heard. Maybe he's struggling with something personal that he hasn't expressed yet. Hopefully a calm, honest conversation will help you both get to the heart of things. Update. This went better than expected. I wish I could say there were tearful embraces and we spent a passionate night rekindling our marriage in record speed like in a Lifetime movie. But no. Still, this is what I'd say is one of the best case scenarios. Firstly, I'll clarify from the other post on a few things I've noticed that people are getting blatantly wrong. Most seem to think that I are gone without him several nights a week, 2 to 3 times max 4 was a unique case and I misstated that. Don't initiate sex, I'm the only one initiating and I get turned down half time which, as you can imagine, is doing wonderful things to my self-worth. I literally have to spend minutes convincing him to get any more than 3 times a week. Cancel plans with him regularly for friends I want to say no, but I'm beginning to doubt my own judgment. He isn't invited out that often to friend night, he is invited to every single friend night. He just prefers not to come. Affair, I'm not going to parties or clubs or anything like that. That a hard boundary I set for him as well. The get-togethers and dinners are usually held a few houses down at my former friend's house. A 10-minute walk away. Are seemingly disinterested in him, his interests or your family life. I don't even know how to respond to this, I'm tired. Why are you laughing at him being delirious and still having the will to train? I was next to him with a towel, a inflatable fall bed and water. He would literally drag himself with his fingers to train if he could. I think I'm entitled to a little chuckle after that much safety prep. Now on to the update. That could have gone better, but I can say with confidence that I've done everything I could when it came to yesterday. Dinner was very good. Jack and Lily loved their meals, and afterward I did what a commenter suggested and asked Lily, "Do you love mommy?" She answered yes. "Do you love daddy?" The yes was bigger. "You think daddy loves mommy?" Another adorable yes. "You think mommy loves daddy?" Silence. I felt like I got slapped. I'm not sure if it showed on my face because Jack immediately came between us and rubbed her hair. He gave a very loud, boisterous "of course she does," picked her up, and carried her to bed while tickling her. Pretty sure I was still reeling from that revaluation, but I snapped out of it. Weirdly enough, he seemed annoyed when he got back, which is strange since he rarely ever shows something like that. Anyway, I remembered my points and pretty much unloaded everything in a half blubbery mess. I said that I was sorry for everything. That I got too caught up with old friends and I was blinded by all the activities and catching up and get-togethers that I didn't realize how much time I was cutting from our plans and our time and family. I was sorry for leaving Thud morning and trying to make this about me when he's trying his best for our daughter. I've been a bad partner, I know. I told him that I really appreciate that, even if he has doubts, he's still willing to be true to me, and I'm proud of him for having the courage to communicate, because it really needed to be said, and how I couldn't imagine how hard that was for him. That I wouldn't be associating with that group again, because I realized what they really thought of him, and that I was stupid not to have realized it earlier. That I know I hurt him and broke his trust, and I'm sorry he had to go through all of this, and that I never noticed, because I was too caught up in my life when I should have been caught up in our lives. And I'm sorry. That we should be a team, and that I don't only want to stay together for Lily, but I want him. If he had anything else to say or any doubts, to please say it, because I'll genuinely listen this time, and won't get defensive. Cue hand-holding over table. That I do really care for him and I was so sorry that I haven't shown it recently and to please just give me a chance. Just one chance, that's all I needed. To give me the opportunity to show that I love him. He just took a few breaths and said general issues that I pretty much initially dismissed. The intimacy was because I apparently rushed it every time, and it felt less like making love and more being a living, breathing dildo. That hurt a lot. I swear I felt chest pain right there and I don't understand what I did to possibly make him feel that way. He mentioned how little I spend on Lily as well, and that he'd been trying to get us together more often, only to have me come home tired half the time. He also said that it would be a while before he trusts me enough to say anything that might send you running to your friends, which hurt considering the fact that I gave them up for him, but I mostly understood where he was coming from now that I wasn't feeling attacked by what he said. It still hurt when he added, "You'll change for a week or two, then change right back and forget it ever happened." I told him that was fine and all he had to do was let me show him how much I care. All in all, that was great. All the planning paid off and it felt like a weight was off my chest. I even did the small gestures of comfort stuff during it, like holding hands and meeting eyes. I could almost see a little change in his expression, mainly the eyes. He was blank-faced throughout the whole thing, but I could tell he was fighting to not break down since he rarely trembles. One of his tells is when his fingers start to spread out like some silly claw shape. That certainly didn't happen before. I knew there was hope. I've already booked a babysitter on his free day, and have a reservation for a fancy restaurant that he likes. He agreed to go out with me with a small nod and I honestly felt ecstatic. I immediately hugged him, and even though he was a bit stiff at first, he returned it. It's been a while since we've felt together now that I think about it, and the feeling is different and bubbly. We went to sleep in the same bed and got excited when he held my neck and brought us closer and stared my eyes while touching foreheads. Then disappointed when he just went to sleep there. I know it'll be a long road and if everything goes well I'll touch on how my needs could be met a bit better. Sex seems to be off the table because, as a commenter said, you pestered him while he was stressed so much that it's a chore to him now, and forcing it will only cause resentment. If he initiates, great. I'll try every now and again and not neg him if he doesn't seem into it. I've realized that my ego really took a hit when he refused when I initiated, and that I had to beg him other times just to feel loved by the only person whose opinion matters when it comes to my body. We both have work to do, especially when it comes to communication, and I'm already looking for a therapist or counselor who fits our criteria. Also got the books recommended to find our love languages in making this work. Since this morning I've tried my best to initiate regular cuddling, which he seems to prefer over sex at the moment. Also little hugs from behind when he's cooking or kisses and pecks make him jolt him sometimes. I don't know how I could have missed this. He even turned his cheek to the side one time, but that might have been by accident. He's been very receptive otherwise, and our daughter seems to be happier for it. Might update one more time at the end of the week and that should be it. Thanks for everyone who helped me come up with points and what to do. And to all those people who say he should leave me. Seethe. It isn't happening. Now, for the next story. My cousin has been acting increasingly inappropriate toward my wife, who is the mother of our 2 kids and used to be a stripper. He even sent her a love letter. 8 years ago, my cousin Joe was getting married. He invited me to his bachelor party. It was me and a bunch of his weird friends I was uncomfortable around. I spent the whole night nursing a beer waiting for it to end. Towards the end of the night, his best man, whose name I can't even remember, had 2 strippers come. I hated the idea, so I continued to nurse the beer while the girls entertained them. A week later, while I was at the gym, a pretty girl I couldn't quite place comes up to me and starts making small talk. I ask how I know her, and she says she was the entertainment at a party I was at. I was surprised by how different she looked compared to that night. Long story short, I end up asking her out. Her fake name is going to be Audrey. It turns out Audrey's only been stripping for a few months. I believed her, but her friends have confirmed it, and she ends up quitting a few weeks after we start dating. I was clearly uncomfortable with it, and she didn't really like it. She's never been ashamed about it, but we haven't told anyone in our family about it, and Joe kept his mouth shut because I asked him to. She's still friends with some girls who still strip, and I think that some of my friends put 2 and 2 together but haven't been rude or anything, just made the usual I'm jealous jokes. Anyways, we've had 2 great kids, a son 5 and a daughter 3, and we're thinking about having 1 or 2 more. Joe's always been super quiet around Audrey, probably because of how they met, until recently, after his divorce. He started complimenting my wife's physical appearance, like every time he sees her. I've told him to lay off, but he hasn't so far. One incident in particular where he said something about kids not ruining her figure really pissed me off. and I bowed up on him and he apologized saying he was drunk. We were at a family barbecue. I calmed down and realized I wasn't going to beat his ass in front of my whole extended family and my kids. I told him not to talk my wife again. This has really come to a head where he sent my wife a love letter asking her to leave me and start a life with him. She sent a reply email just saying no thank you. What do I do here? I love my family, I love my extended family, and I want her to be comfortable around them, and she can't be with Joe there. Audrey doesn't want me to tell my family he's making her uncomfortable, because she's afraid Joe will let out the fact that she used to be a stripper. I told her I'd be okay with it, but she's pretty adamant on not wanting them to know. Another thing, Joe hasn't done anything that would require legal action. He'd been acting like a teenager with a crush, and my wife admitted that she doesn't feel like she's in any kind of danger. I told her that we need to watch him carefully, but I don't know if there is much we can do on this front. My wife has just been terrified he's going to tell my family. I've been there for her, the best I can. She's afraid that one day our kids could find out if the whole family learns. I would love advice on this whole horrible situation. Comment 1. You need to set clear boundaries with Joe, and if he doesn't respect them, distancing yourself from him might be the only option. Comment 2. Your wife's comfort should come first. If Joe's behavior continues, it might be time to tell your family the truth. Update. Yesterday, my wife and I decided to show my parents Joe's email love letter. We learned a lot of things. 1. Joe has apparently seduced another one, our cousin's wife, as well as his uncle's wife. Joe's uncle is only 5 years older than him. Both times he sent a love letter, and both times ignored them afterwards. I don't know why, but both of those couples are still together. All of them are religious, so maybe it has something to do with not wanting to get divorced. 2. The reason Joe got a divorce was because he would not stop cheating on his wife. 3. Joe came to his parents and the older family members, who I will refer to as the old guard facetiously, and asked for help after being caught with the cousin's wife, saying he was sorry and that he had a problem. They decided to forgive him but put rules in place. 4. My parents knew about Audrey. Joe had told his mom, told my mom, her sister. My mom told my dad. Audrey started crying at 4. But my parents gave her a hug and told her they didn't care. It was great, and after some tears we went back to our house. A babysitter was watching the kids. My parents told me the old guard was going to talk to Joe. Apparently Joe told everyone there about Audrey. By trying to say that her being around set him back, everyone didn't know except for my parents and Joe's parents. He claimed that she made the first move. He also said that he slept with her on Tuesday while I was at work. That was completely false, because I had started working from home a month ago. I was at home all day with my wife. Just to be clear, there's no way she has been having an affair with him. I think the longest we've been apart this month has been an hour when she gets groceries, and he claimed Tuesday was the first time. The fallout has been horrible. Apparently I was already the black sheep, not the fucking sexual deviant, because my family doesn't go to church. We've received various messages denouncing us, the worst being from the parents of Lisa. Lisa is like a sister to me. Her parents moved in with mine and we lived together. Lisa turned 17 recently, and her parents aren't allowing her to be at our house anymore. She used to come over all the time. My wife is crushed. I've been holding her as much as I can, and I know our kids are making her feel better. But she told me that her worst nightmare came true. She still thinks going to my parents was the right idea though. My parents are still supporting us. The younger group who aren't living with their parents won't cut us out. I've pretty much written off the rest of the family. I'll try to have my parents explain that she had nothing to do with Joe, but if they don't listen, they don't listen. Lisa also doesn't believe it, but besides a text saying that she doesn't want to stop being around us, we haven't heard from her. We showed my parents the letter. Joe had a history of seducing wives and ignoring them afterwards. Old guard. In family confronted him. He told them she used to be a stripper and lied about her instigating. He also said they slept together, but I was with my wife when he claimed to. He didn't know I work at home. Whole family is pretty much torn up over this. My parents are still supporting me. Younger family members not dependent on their parents are also refusing to cut us out.